Chapter 5. Opalescence. 6 weeks later. When my Uncle Theo asked me to enumerate the different ways that the aura was described in the capítulos, I thought the task was peculiar. Surely they would all be the same, or nearly the same? I was amazed at the different accounts I discovered. The aura was described as glowing and pulsing, golden, silver, black, and rainbow-colored. A diffuse background glow, and so brilliant and radiant that the man who viewed it was temporarily blinded. For some, it lasted only a few seconds from the first viewing, yet others could view it from the moment they met until they consummated their union. By the time I was done with my summation, I knew that I could easily write a book on that one topic. Uncle Theo, on hearing me say that, immediately endorsed the idea. Lazarus Ezekiel Zakarian, Prologue, The Story of the Aura. Jackie stood on the deck of the Promise of Deity, the wind in her hair, her eyes closed. They would be arriving in Estolia in the next couple of days. The deep exhaustion from tending her father's needs around the clock was nothing more than a memory. She gripped the rail. She had to face the truth. The reason she came up onto the deck in the first place. Infatuation. It had to be that. Leo would never want her. He was almost 30 years old, and she was only 20. Leo was the perfect knight in shining armor, sweeping into her life and easing the loss of her father, holding her during the funeral. She couldn't even imagine what she would have done if he didn't arrive when he did. She consciously eased her grip on the rail and forced a smile onto her face, focusing on all that was good about her life. She was crossing the Atlantic Ocean, a guest of Leopold Zakarian, who was the son of one of her father's friends. He was rich, with a whole crew on the large sailboat seeing to their comfort and serving them like they were royalty. She tried to think of the future. With the opportunities afforded by this new adventure, she was likely to meet dozens of handsome men, falling all over themselves to date her. It was better to focus on the exciting future ahead of her and ignore the yawning emptiness she felt every time she told herself that Leo would never see her as anything other than a friend. Leo stepped out of his cabin and came to a halt. Jackie was standing on the deck looking out over the water. The sunshine slanting down onto her gave her the appearance of glowing with an opalescent shimmer. He glanced at the sky with a frown, and saw that it was overcast, the sun hidden behind the clouds. He looked back at Jackie. She was still bathed in a brilliant light. From the beginning he was attracted to her beautiful willowy body and admired her chocolate brown hair and eyes. But he had kept her at a distance, treating her like he treated his sisters and female cousins. He crossed over to where she was standing, drawn by the flame of what could only be her aura. When he reached her, he set his hands on her shoulders, feeling with an almost electric thrill the physical manifestation of the aura. Something his forebears had obsessed over with their attempts to describe it adequately. As her brilliance bathed each cell in his body, he began to understand this obsession. Having felt the warmth of her aura, he wanted to be able to describe what he felt so his own sons might understand better than the existing texts, poetry, and prose were able to explain. Yet, how could he explain what it felt like to see a woman standing in shadows yet bathed in the warm glow of her aura? How could words explain the way his soul responded to hers? Jackie turned around. The lessons from his year as an acolyte came back to him. Warnings about the way it would feel when he finally met the woman destined to keep his soul. Once felt, once seen, his soul would begin to yearn to rest within her keeping. His earlier desire for her was explained. Now he wanted her more than any other woman he had ever known. He was looking at his Kaylee.
You are looking particularly lovely today.
When will we arrive in Estolia?
We might get there tomorrow. The day after at the latest.
Where will I live?
In the palace. I do not think I ever properly explained, my father is the keeper, the leader of our state religion. My uncle is the king. It is a very small country. Please do not feel at all self-conscious. We are just people.
How did my father ever get involved in your family?
The letter I got from my father when we stopped in Tenerife explained in greater detail. He met your father in London. Your father saved my cousin Samuel's life. Unfortunately, he was badly injured and broke both of his legs. My uncle, who was practicing as an orthopedic surgeon at the time, was able to operate on him and save his legs.
Is this the uncle who is now the king?
Her voice, like the glow of her aura, seemed to have an effect on him. He had to struggle to concentrate on her words.
Yes, Jackie, your father, once he recovered from his broken legs, went on to introduce my parents to each other.
That's romantic.
Jackie's cheeks turned rosy.
The Estolian religion itself is based on the concept of romantic love.
Really? Tell me about it.
He laughed outright, feeling suddenly free.
I will tell you all about it. You will learn much about Estolia. This next year is our transition year. We only have one every 30 years. In fact, we will begin the celebrations within a few days of our arrival.
What is it about?
After we arrive, my father will pass one of his titles, Last Resort, on to my cousin Gregory. Shortly thereafter, Sebastian, the royal heir, will be married, and within the year, crowned. It is an exciting time in Estolia.